to shoot the rock. This is the Rockcastle Gun Show on ESPN 102.7 FM, AM 1450, AM 1230, and streaming live on ESPNKY.com. Your weekly double-barrel dose of the biggest names, best products, and most intriguing topics in the world of firearms. Brought to you by Hilux Optics, Swagger by Pods, Shoot with Confidence, J&K Used Cars on the Bypass, and Mohawk Outdoors. In pursuit of liberty, justice, and all things guns. Here are your hosts, Nick and Nate Noble.
Hey, welcome back to the Rockcastle Gun Show. It's your hosts, Nick and Nate Noble. Nate is actually out on the range right now. He'll be in the studio a little bit later, but we're here on ESPN 102.7, the Rockcastle Gun Show, the only gun show on ESPN Radio, and we're very, very proud of that. And we continue to bring the biggest and the best names from the firearms industry, from the guns and gear, from competitive shooters and everything else. We're going to have a really fun show tonight. We're going to kind of recap the Rockcastle Pro-Am 3-Gun Championships. I think it was our 8th season that we've done that. Just got done last weekend, ended up Sunday. We're going to have the top shooter in TAC Optics, Josh Taylor, is going to join us, and he's going to be coming in from Alabama. And then the number 2, the runner-up, Todd Jarrett, one of the literally the best pistol shooters in the world, is going to join us, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about, the whole match. And it was an interesting match because, and we'll get into the details later, but the Pro-Am, this is our 4th match director, David Power, that has got in here and did his magic. And every time you bring in a new match director brings in a little bit new flavor and everything else. And we're going to kind of dive into that a little bit with Josh Taylor and Todd Jarrett, the number 1 and number 2 in TAC Optics. And then we're going to bring on our good friend Derek Poor, 160th Special Air Aviation out of Fort Campbell. The 160th are the guys that fly in. They're called the Night Stalkers, and they fly any special forces, whether you're a Navy SEAL, whether you're a 5th Special Forces Green Beret. They're the ones that pick you up and take you out of combat. So if you've ever seen any of the movies that, name one, and any aircraft that is bringing them in and out, those are the guys that are bringing them in. We're doing the Night Stalkers Association special 2-gun challenge next weekend. We'll talk a little bit about that. But a lot of stuff going on we just finished up with the Pro-Am, which is the largest 3-gun competition in the world. And then it was great. It was hot. It was dry. It was challenging. It was really cool. This weekend we've got like I said, the 2-gun, the 160th Special Forces 2-gun challenge, and then we got a USPSA pistol match. And then of course, always you can come up and shoot, play golf, shoot guns on our ranges. Even through the Pro-Am, the largest 3-gun competition in the world last weekend, we had ranges out to 700 yards on rifle and all of our pistol bays open. We've got the winery, we've got the hotel, golf, you name it. You can come up and check it out. So anyway, there's a whole lot of things going on, and we're getting into some big things. We got the 9/11 Memorial Run and Gun Shoot, which is for the 5th Special Forces, which is also out of Fort Campbell. We've got that coming up real soon, and we'll talk a little bit about that later in the next coming weeks. But this show is going to be, the first 2 segments going to be about the Rockcastle Pro-Am 3-Gun Championships. So we're going to bring back on the number 1 shooter, Josh Taylor, and the runner-up, Todd Jarrett. And we'll be right back after these messages. You're listening to ESPN Radio 102.7, the Rockcastle Gun Show.
Although hunting to most of us is much more than just harvesting animals, why not better your deer herd's health with Big & J long-range attractant? Big & J is highly digestible, high in protein, and isn't full of preservatives. With Big & J long-range attractants, you're not only exploiting one of the few weaknesses whitetails have, their stomachs, but you're maximizing antler growth, improving overall herd health, and pulling deer from your neighbor's property. So whether your goals are to fill the freezer, kill mature bucks, or both, Big & J long-range attractants will stack the odds in your favor, all the while making your deer herd bigger and healthier.
J&K Used Cars is the place to go when you need a quality automobile at an affordable price. Stop in at 670 on the Bypass in Bowling Green and see this week's special. A 2009 Honda Ridgeline 4-wheel drive comes with good miles, sport wheels, power options, bed cover, keyless entry, tinted glass, and more for only $13,995. Hurry in because at that price it won't last long. J&K Used Cars, with over 40 years of serving the community with affordable prices on quality automobiles. Visit J&K on the bypass and online at jnkusedcars.com.
This is Nate from Rockcastle Shooting Center. Did you know that one of the premier shooting ranges in the world is right here in South Central Kentucky? Rockcastle Shooting Center has something for everyone's recreational shooting enjoyment. From 3D archery to our brand new sporting clays course, handgun ranges full of steel to targets out to a mile. There's no better place to get some trigger time than Rockcastle Shooting Center. Non-members are welcome, and memberships start at $150 per year. We offer a fantastic range of firearms training and education opportunities from the most basic to the most advanced. Come see us, exit 48 on I-65, Park City, Kentucky. Visit rockcastleshootingcenter.com.
Hey, it's Nick Noble with the Rockcastle Gun Show here. We're talking about Swagger bipods. Do you want just your average barrel rest, or do you want to shoot with some swagger? Introducing the Swagger bipods. They expand your shooting zone with Swagger, the all-terrain hunting bipod. After more than 100 years, finally shooters have a bipod with patented, flexible, hyper-extending telescoping legs that give you the agility like never before. So get rid of stiff legs and get the bipod with infinite maneuverability. Swagger, the bipod that moves. Hey, welcome back to the Rockcastle Gun Show. It's Nick Noble solo. I don't know where my brother is. I think he's up giving a tour up at Rockcastle Shooting Center. Got a great thing. I got our producer Garrett Browning in the studio with us, and I've got my father, Jim Noble, who never wants to get on the mic. I have no idea why. He just like one of those guys. Say hey. Say hey.
I'm on.
All right. And I got my stepmom, Lisa Lyle. They're in the studio. We're in the bunker of the ESPN 102.7 studios here in Bowling Green, Kentucky, the only gun show on ESPN. And you know what? We're going to talk about, for the first two segments, I mentioned it in our opening monologue, is we're going to talk about the Rockcastle Pro-Am 3-Gun Championships because it is the largest 3-gun competition in the world. Some of the best talent is there. I mean, year in and year out, if you really kind of rank the people that come in there, I would just beg you to find another match, 3-gun match. We've got the numbers in terms of total numbers, but we've also got the talent. And we're going to kind of dive into that a little bit. And we're bringing on the champion of the Rockcastle Pro-Am 3-Gun Championships. And then after that, we're going to bring on the guy that came in runner-up, and he's no slouch, one of the best pistol shooters in the world and one of the best 3-gun shooters in the world. But first, we're going to talk to the Pro-Am Rockcastle 3-Gun Championship champion, Josh Taylor. He's out of Alabama, and he's on the line with us, I think.
How are you, Nick?
Good, man. How are you doing, brother?
Doing great.
Doing great. You know, one of the things, Josh, and you know, people that don't know you, and we're here live, local right now in four different markets, and we're going to be up on E-Town 106.1 Saturday morning, and there's a bunch of people from E-Town, Bowling Green, everything else. So we're on live now, but we're on a podcast that's world live, and it's, you know, people are downloading this show and this podcast. I think we're 129 right now, and they're downloading from all the world. But 3-gun is the hottest topic. That's what we get the most feedback on. It's probably because that's what we're most famous for at Rockcastle Shooting Center. How was it shooting the Rockcastle Pro-Am 3-Gun Championships? You shot it for many, many years. You shot a lot of matches at the Rock. I mean, how was this year a little bit different, or just in general, how is it shooting at Rockcastle?
Oh, I love shooting at Rockcastle. I mean, this match definitely had kind of a different flavor to it, but anytime you get a new match director, you always, it takes a little different course. It was a little more positional heavy, long-range rifle, lots of hard slug shots. I mean, it was still a great match, though.
Yeah. Is there something, you shoot a lot of 3-gun, how many 3-gun matches do you shoot a year?
So this year, this is the second major I've shot. I really haven't gotten to shoot much at all in the last year and a half. I think I've shot locals included in maybe 5-6 matches all year.
Right. And I think that's a really important point to kind of push down on is what's happened in 3-gun in particular is that there are so many matches now and such high-quality matches that you can go shoot not only majors, but you can shoot your club matches and regional matches, and there's just some high quality 3-gun going on out there. So, you're getting some great practice no matter where you go on almost any weekend you want to participate.
Absolutely.
And down in your neck of the woods, there's no you guys have plenty of opportunities to shoot, right?
So it's not as good as it used to be, but we've still got quite a few. I mean, if you travel within 2.5, 3 hours, you can find something to shoot almost every weekend. But it's kind of died off a little bit around us, unfortunately.
Has it? Well, that's too bad. All right, well, so let's dial in and zero in on the Rockcastle Pro-Am 3-Gun Championships. You are the champion of the TAC Optics division. It was a loaded field. I mean, you beat people like Todd Jarrett. You beat people like Daniel Horner. You beat people like Tim Yackley. It was a different style match. Let's talk about the style of the match versus some of the other ones you met. How did it fit into your sweet spot with the 3 guns, and then where do you think you caught your advantage?
I mean, I did very well on all the positional rifle stuff, and I mean, I've always done fairly well. These last couple of matches, we started shooting some 2-gun around here, and they've been very positional rifle heavy down at Altus and Southern Tactical and a few of the other ranges we go to down here. And I mean, it gave me kind of a tune-up for what we were going to see up there. I didn't expect quite that much positional rifle, but it was kind of a cool flare. I mean, it was really, you had to get down and actually shoot your guns. It wasn't hosing paper at 5 yards. It was, how fast can I hit targets from 200 to 530 on a stage out of a shooting house?
Yeah, so let's break, for our listeners that may be not familiar with 3-gun, let's break down the term positional rifle. What does that mean exactly?
So basically it's how quickly can you get into an awkward position, like, say, a shooting house. We were shooting targets from 200 all the way out to 530 yards. We were standing, basically all you had to rest on was the front rest of a 2-person shooting house. So you had to see how fast you could get into that position, make a stable position, and shoot your targets. These targets were only, basically the size of a pie plate out at 530 yards. So they're not tiny, but they're definitely not large targets by any stretch of the imagination.
So when you say shooting house, it's like a 2-man hunting blind that's up on a pedestal, but you guys were on the ground on this. So it was. I mean, that's not something you do on a normal day.
No, absolutely not. I think I may have shot out of something similar one time, but it was always, 100 yards or in, and it was kind of closer, larger targets. This, it required you to build a pretty steady position or just fling lead like I kind of do a lot of times.
Yeah, just let it fly.
That's it. Just send it.
We'll get into kind of some of the pre-match round count chatter, and we'll get into some of the chatter that happened after the match and here in a little bit. But in your opinion, David Power, who knows Rockcastle Shooting Center probably better than anyone outside of the last name Noble. He's been there for as many matches. He's been an RO for everything from PRS to everything up and down the line. I mean, he was with us with our very first 3-gun competition with the Saber Defense 3-gun match that Andy Horner did before we even bought the property. It's been going on for 10 years. So the guy knows the property. What was his flair? What was his flavor? What was the signature that David put on this match that may have been a little bit different than what you would have seen at the Pro-Am in previous years?
Based on everybody on the internet, it's long-range slugs.
Right. Yeah, and expand on that. So
it was just, you had to shoot a solid game. I mean, there wasn't a bunch of stuff that you could shoot up close and make time. You really had to be accurate. I mean, it was an accuracy match more than anything. Mm-hmm. It had almost a slight PRS, which is, the Precision Rifle Series flair to it, but it still had enough diversity that it was still a great 3-gun match.
Right. Do you? There's been a lot of chatter, and we'll get into this now, about too many slugs. Going into the match, everybody was complaining like, well, sounds like a really low round count. But at the end of the day, in the pro match, I believe there was only 2 paper targets. And for the listeners that don't understand 3-gun, on a paper target, you double tap it. So that's 2 rounds. For steel, all you have to do is hit it, and it's engaged, and it's done, and it's called a hit, and everything else. So I think it was a little bit. It was deceiving when you looked at the round count coming in because it was all steel. It was very little reset, which was a huge deal because in this game, all the squad that you're on, everybody's got to go out and reset and repaper and paste targets and everything else. And this was a little bit different. There was a lot less reset. It seemed like a little lower round count, but once you have to start banging steel, and like you said, you like to sling lead, you maybe shot a few more rounds than you thought when you looked at the initial round count.
I don't think it turned into anything less than I've ever shot up there before. I mean, I shot at least as many rounds as I think I've shot at any other match just because of how much long range there was. Like those 5, I think there was either 4 or 5 targets out of that shooting house we talked about earlier. I watched, I think I sent 7 at that, so I had a really good stage there. But I watched guys that were top 5 guys. They shot, basically they emptied a mag. I think one of them, Keegan, he shot 29 rounds out of that position, and he ended up 5th in the match. So, I mean, if that gives you kind of an idea, it's deceiving. So the round count showed it as 5 rounds, but lots of people sent 20 to 40 rounds at it easily.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. So the kind of, I think if you go and look at not YouTube, but Facebook and all the memes and everything that's coming out after the match, and our 3-gun family loves to do these funny memes. The big thing was slugs. Tell us, as a professional shooter that just won the largest shooting competition 3-gun in the world, how do you shoot slugs long range, and what's your secret to it?
I don't have a secret. I actually missed quite a few. It's that same thing. It's just send it. Basically I would send it and adjust. I mean, I'd watch for splash behind the target, and if I missed, I'd aim higher. These were small targets at 105, 110 yards. And that was my only 2 penalties on the whole match, was I had 10 seconds on 2 different targets on stage 6. And they were small slug targets at like 105 yards.
Right.
I mean, they were absolutely hittable. I was just yanking the trigger. I mean, it was just one of those deals. My slugs were, I was pointed at I shot everything, and my slugs hit exactly where the gun was pointed, basically.
Exactly. So
it was all me.
It was a point and match. And some of the people have brought up some of the things that, that long, 102 yards, you want to, rifle barrel, and if you're going to shoot, the only time you're ever going to use that is deer hunting and things like that in Ohio, where you can't use a rifle gun, you use a slug. But I think Brian Nelson, who chimed in, who wasn't here for this match, but he's a great shooter. He toned in and said, listen, if anybody's complaining about the challenges in a shooting match, and I take it back to golf. I used to play a little bit of golf, and I follow golf and everything else. But different courses are set up different ways. Sometimes they grow the rough, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's long, sometimes it's short. Sometimes they want you to be at even par. Sometimes they want you to finish at 25, over par, or above par, or below par. I'm sorry. And this match was set up as a shooting, aiming match. It was pretty straightforward. There wasn't a lot of hoopla in between. There was no gimmicks, but it makes it challenging. And as long as, and this is my opinion, as long as everybody has the same opportunity in the same course of fire, I can't believe that anyone would bitch about anything, right? I don't get that.
I can.
Why is that?
You get that it's going to happen anyway. There's a certain faction within 3-gun that's going to complain no matter what.
No, I
think that's within any sport. I mean, you get those folks that you can't make them happy.
No, I agree. Now, you intrigue me because you're a very, I would say you're just a low-key guy. You don't wear a sponsored jersey. You come in here, you just kick people's ass. It's kind of, and everybody's now taking, because you've done so well when you're 3-gun, but you're not one of these, I call them the silkies, the guys that are wearing the silky shirts with all the racing jerseys and everything else. You just come in there and do your business. And how did you get into 3-gun, and how'd you get so good?
So actually, I think that 3-Gun Nation got me into 3-Gun. I know that they've kind of gone by the wayside these days, but they had the Pro Series on TV, and I watched that, and I was kind of like, dang, I'd really like to do that. And then I found a local match. They call it a prac tac match. It was all 3 guns, but it was really a very dumbed down 3-gun match. And I went and shot that one time, and I thought that was as cool as it gets. And then I went to a bigger match, and it just kept progressing from there. And when I first got into it, man, I was shooting, I don't know, the first year I probably shot 5 to 8 majors, and then I shot probably 12 or 15 the next year. I mean, so I got into it pretty hot and heavy. Life's kind of gotten in the way the last year and a half or so with business, but
yeah,
I'm gonna try and get back into it again.
What was your entree into competitive shooting? And it wasn't 3-gun, or was it?
It was. Well,
okay.
I shot a very, very minute amount of skeet.
Okay.
And when I say that, I mean I probably shot a couple hundred registered birds. I mean, we're talking very, very minor. You know, some buddies at the gun club were like, "Hey, come out and shoot with us." It happens to be a tournament, so I came out and shot anyway.
That's cool.
It wasn't any kind of high-level competition for me at that point.
Well, very impressive from where you've come to where you are now. You are the Rockcastle Pro-Am 3-gun champion, and last year you finished second, right?
I think I was third last year.
You were third last year.
Fifth year before that.
Yeah, fifth year before that. So no telling you can hold this title for as long as you want, and we certainly love to put on the Rockcastle 3-gun championships. Josh Taylor, you're a great champion. You're nondescript. You're low key. You're very cool. You just kind of do your thing, and you're one of the best shooters in the world right now because you beat some of the best shooters in the world. So I appreciate you coming on this show, and we'll have you back on, next time you're at the Rock.
Well, that sounds awesome, man. I appreciate y'all putting on these events. Y'all got kind of a world-class facility up there if people hadn't seen it.
Nah, I agree with that, and we're still trying to figure out how to put a landing strip for Josh's plane in the middle of our golf course because that's what he wants, and that I think it's a good idea. So Josh Taylor, the champion of the Pro-Am 3-gun championship this last weekend, thank you so much for being on the show with us, and we'll be right back after these messages. You're on Rockcastle Shooting Center, ESPN Radio 102.7.
This is a Morgan & Morgan consumer message.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. One of the most common and life-altering injuries that we see after a car crash is a herniated disc. Often it causes a lifetime of care, injections, and surgeries. A life where the most simple enjoyments become painful struggles. But insurance companies often refuse to pay for these injuries. They say disc herniation is no big deal, but we know the truth. We know how life-altering a disc herniation can be. We've won millions of dollars for clients with disc herniation because we know how devastating these injuries really are. If you have a herniated disc after a car crash, call us. You can reach us by dialing pound law on your cell phone. That's pound 529. Pound law, that's all. If you're injured in a car crash or at work, call us. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
Offices Bowling Green.
This is Nate from Rockcastle Shooting Center. Did you know that one of the premier shooting ranges in the world is right here in South Central Kentucky? Rockcastle Shooting Center has something for everyone's recreational shooting enjoyment. From 3D archery to our brand new sporting clays course, handgun ranges full of steel to targets out to a mile. There's no better place to get some trigger time than Rockcastle Shooting Center. Non-members are welcome, and memberships start at $150 per year. We offer a fantastic range of firearms training and education opportunities from the most basic to the most advanced. Come see us, exit 48 on I-65, Park City, Kentucky. Visit rockcastleshootingcenter.com.
J&K Used Cars is the place to go when you need a quality automobile at an affordable price. Stop in at 670 on the Bypass in Bowling Green and see this week's special. A 2009 Honda Ridgeline 4-wheel drive comes with good miles, sport wheels, power options, bed cover, keyless entry, tinted glass, and more for only $13,995. Hurry in because at that price it won't last long. J&K Used Cars with over 40 years of serving the community with affordable prices on quality automobiles. Visit J&K on the Bypass and online at jnkusedcars.com.
Hey, welcome back to the Rockcastle Gun Show here on ESPN Radio, the only gun show on ESPN Radio. And we're talking the Rockcastle Pro-Am 3-Gun Championships, the first two segments. Great to have on Josh Taylor. He was up there. This guy, nondescript, very low-key dude, can shoot the lights out of it, and it was very impressive. It was cool to hear his take on it. And now we're going to bring on the runner-up and one of the most famous names in competitive shooting, one of the best pistol shooters out there, best 3-gunners out there, Mr. Todd Jarrett. Are you with us on ESPN Radio, my friend?
I am, Nick. What's going on, buddy?
What's
you guys
up?
Having a good time out there tonight?
Yeah, we're having a good time. I don't know where my brother is, my co-host, because it's a lot easier when there's two voices, but it's only me. And but I will tell you, we're here and we're talking three-gun. We just got done with one of the biggest three-gun competitions in the world. Arguably, I think the largest, because it's 2 matches in once. We had a whole bunch of people at Rockcastle Shooting Center shooting 8 stages for pros, 7 stages for the amateurs, and it was, just the whole great three-gun things, around cars and fuselages and all kinds of stuff. What was your? You obviously came in a very close second. There was everybody else after you guys, and there were some top shooters in the world after you guys. You guys battled, and I believe you were on the same stage. So how did the Pro-Am 2019 Pro-Am 3-Gun Championships play out for you? You obviously did very well. What was kind of the flavor and your feel about the whole thing?
Oh, wow. Nick, I have been doing this for close to 40 years now, and I can tell you that I have shot 17 different disciplines in my life, and I started 3-gun about 8 years ago. I think this is my 8th or 9th season of shooting it. And I jumped in on it, and I have shot different varieties of 3-gun, everything from Rocky Mountain 3-gun to Fort Benning to some other, a lot of the other major matches out there, the Hornady Zombie match out there, which is a lot of fun. And they all draw a big crowd, but, oh, my God, you had a huge crowd this weekend. And it was, I know David Powers and Brian, they put on a heck of a show here. I can tell you that I would say that you got this match will be in the top 5 as far as I would say, a lot of people may have said it may have been tough in some areas, but it was a stand-up and shoot match. And for me personally, and David and them put all the stages out and said, hey, we're going to have slugs out to 130. We're going to have rifle targets out to over 500. And I was going like, wow, it's going to be a challenging match. So I did my homework and shot a bunch of slugs and shot a lot of long-range stuff. And I did all my work I needed to do on the rifle. And my pistol side was already pretty good. I felt confident about it. My equipment was good. My STI pistol was ready to go. But, yeah, it was a tough one. But, you had to just stand and shoot. It wasn't nothing there that the top pros couldn't hit. You just had to do it all 3 guns for 8 events, in which made it pretty challenging.
Absolutely.
But as far as the match goes, Nick, I mean, it was well done, and I was pretty pleased at how everything went out. And Josh Taylor just shot lights out. I mean, I shot with him in the squad. We shot together the whole weekend. And we battled back and forth. I was in the lead, he was in the lead, back and forth. And we got down the last stage, and I knew it was close. And I had a really good run on stage 1. And I picked up about 32 points on him. And I was going, well, I got a little lead on him. And we entered the last stage and thinking, okay, here I am. I'm just going to hit the targets and see what I can do. Now, I had a couple extra pickups, and I knew I could have been 4 or 5 seconds faster. And he laid down some lead that it was absolutely impressive. And my head goes off to Josh. I mean, he's a great guy, great shooter. He has a different style of shooting than I do. If you look at our 2 different techniques, but he had an awesome weekend, and that goes off to him. He shot great.
How important do you think it is? And I always use the analogy of golf, because golf, when you're going into the final day, the top shooters are together. They may not have been together the day before, just depend on how they ranked it. And that'd actually be an interesting format in 3-gun over a 3-day match, is where you start somewhere and then you start the leaders start getting to play with each other the second day, and the final day it's only the leaders that are on the stage. And I just thought of that, and I think we need to do that. But how much did you guys feed off each other? I mean, you may or may not have known that you two were the leaders in this match, but you probably felt it because you were both shooting well, obviously, because you were 1 and 2 in the match. Is that important? I mean, a lot better maybe than being with a bunch of shooters that weren't in contention, because I think the cream rises to the top. You force yourself to go up to the next level. When you're around somebody, it's through osmosis or whatever else. How important is that when you're shooting competition like that? Or are you so zoned in that you really don't care?
No, for me, I'm a numbers guy, and I pretty much know where I'm at most of the time, and I know the mistakes that I I would make throughout the event. So if I have some extra pickups, okay, I kind of know that I could have been 4 or 5 seconds faster. Every time you have a pickup in long range, and there were some really challenging shots, so you had to have your positions correct. You had to know your dope. And so, well, of course, I got Daniel Horner, who's probably, the most, well-known and most successful and winningest three-gun shooter probably ever played a game.
Of all time.
And,
yeah.
of course, Tim Yackley, who was third behind me, he's young at the game, and Tim is, he's a awesome shot himself in a lot of ways. But, we had another 4 or 5 guys in the group there that you don't never know. And I kind of, after day one, I had decided, I usually go into a match looking at it two ways. I can either kind of turn up the wick and, and be a Jerry Michalik in a lot of ways, or I can back off and be a Todd and just shoot consistent and try to hit everything. And I knew that this match was so hard in a lot of ways that you could get hung up, like on stage 6, the spinner stage, which everybody, if you could just get through that without having any major penalties, because there was a lot of penalties from the top guys there, and I got through it clean. So it was like, okay, I got through the hard part, one of the harder stages in the match. And it was hard. It was just you had to get on the program. And so for me, it's kind of like, once I got through there, I said, okay, now I know that I'm going to be in the top 3. And watching Josh go through it, he had a couple penalties on the slug side. But yeah, for me, I look at matches two different ways. And, I shoot a lot of USPSA and pistol, and that's a little bit more aggressive style in a lot of ways than three-gun. You just can't go out there and just throw lead down range and hit a 500-yard target. In this case, you can't just throw lead or throw a slug at a target 100 yards away and not aim at it and not know your equipment. So knowing your equipment, I knew my dope on all of my guns, and I think that is as important, in shooting three-gun, is that having the right rifle, having the right ammo, same thing with your slug, same thing with your pistol ammo, and knowing shot. And, you got to know your shot. We had a couple birds we had to shoot at, and they were, not that it was a hard shot, but, you don't want to walk out there with a 5-second miss on a target, end up going and losing the match because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Knowing your equipment, I know, is critical. And you knew this was going to be slug heavy because I think David Power and Brian Corey did a really good job. They were playing. We had a YouTube channel that was putting all the stages out there. They were walking you through it. They weren't shooting it, but they were walking you through it, showing the targets, giving you a little bit of G2 on it. And what you said is that you took that and then you went that and put that into your practice regiment and started shooting it, right?
I did. I probably, I know I shot over 100 rounds of past 75, 80 yards away out to about 140. And I need to know what my gun was going to do at that distance. And, getting the right choke, getting the right, slug in the gun, knowing what your gun's going to do, especially when it heats up, because it was hot there this weekend.
Yeah, it was very hot.
So, I'm shooting a Benelli and M2, and with that, you got to know all the nuances behind your slugs and what they can do at those given distances. And so, but it wasn't, I would say, out of the realm of the capability of the guns to be able to hit those targets. I know a lot of people shot a lot of extra shots at slugs, and I just don't think they spent the time on them to, basically understand how to hit them. I think out of 21 shots, I think I had 4 makeups the whole match. So we're looking at some film footage and seeing things I can maybe pick up on. And, so I think I ended up with 4 pickups for the match. So,
yeah, that's
huge.
So when you're dialing a dope on an M2 with the slug, what are some of the things that are a little bit, because three-gunners typically don't shoot a lot of slugs. This was a slug-heavy match, but typically that's not the case. So how do you set up your gun and your choke and everything else to optimize a 100 or 75 or 105-yard slug shot versus how you'd have it set up for a base stage where you're just running and gunning. I mean, you don't shoot slugs there, but it's a total different mentality in terms of the way you set up that M2 Benelli.
Yeah, it is. It's, some of the bay stages that we were shooting 3-gun, long shot with a slug may be 45 or 50 yards away. So I normally would shoot either a 21 or a 24-inch barrel there. In this case, I did bring my slug gun. I had a 26-inch barrel, and I did have adjustable sights on it. So I had it doped in, so I was dead on at 100. And so with that, I think I was about 4 inches high at 50 yards away. So most of the targets we shot, we'd have a few at 35. So I just had to aim at the bottom of the target. But when shooting slugs and the gun gets hot, they do have a tendency to walk on you. Sometimes they'll walk high on you, or they'll move right or left at certain distances. So I spent a lot of time. I shot my 24-inch in practice, and I went back to my 26, and I just got a little bit more velocity out of it. And I shot a 7/8 ounce Fiocchi slug is what I shot. It's a 1,300 feet per second slug, and that's typically what I normally run. I do shoot some 1 ounce slugs from time to time, some Federal, some True Ball that I do like out of one of my guns. But you got to find, so essentially if you got 5 or 6 different chokes in your gun, you got to know what choke that actually works the best for long distance in your gun. And particularly I was using a light mod in mine, and so essentially that gave me my best accuracy. You got to know how to clean your barrels. You got to keep your chokes clean. You got to keep know exactly what your equipment's going to do, and it takes time and money. If you're a pro, I consider there's probably about 10 of us there that basically won the match, and and I was joking with Josh. I mean, I was going he probably could have shot it from the hip and hit him at 300 yards away. That's how good he was shooting. So it was kind of fun.
Well, yeah, it was fun to watch that race and everything else. Now, you've been a shooter, you said, for 40-plus years. You've shot so many disciplines. You've just gotten into 3-gun for the last few years. But one of my favorite Todd Jarrett, just memories is Nate and I and my dad and everybody have been going to the SHOT Show for so long, over 12, 13 years, and You're like one of the biggest draws at the SHOT Show. I mean, you're in your sponsors' booths, and you're up there doing demonstrations with a mic, and you're teaching people how to draw a pistol and how to proper stance, proper grip, and just everything. And you're quite a character. And the SHOT Show's got to be grueling for you because you're there. You're like Michael Jordan at the SHOT Show, and you got 100 or 200 or 300 people around you, through this giant trade show, and every time you get on stage, they're drawn to you. How cool is that? And do you reflect on that versus where you were a long time ago? And you're a big damn deal, dude.
Well, I love the industry. I love people who enjoy the things that I enjoy. Yes, I have been, I think it was 30 years, my 30th anniversary this year going to SHOT. And so I've been doing stage shows for 26 years, I think, straight. And this year I was with Hoppies, and I have been with a multitude of companies over the years. And I really enjoy, and basically letting my skill, or my skill set in that, being able to teach that to others and give some other people some some tips on how to either get into the shooting sports. And so for me, it's like a big family. And so, yeah, I'm probably kind of well known in the industry for over the years, and I kind of have made a little mark in my own little mark in the industry. But I have seen some of the best shooters come through. Daniel Horner, I've known Daniel since he's 9 years old. He started shooting in my area. Some of the other top competitors out there, Max Michel. We can look at Chris Tilley. We can look at, Casey at Casibio. Shane Coley at Glock. All those guys, I've seen them come up through the ranks over the years, and they've become phenomenal shots and national and world champions. And now they're doing their own stage shows, and they're doing that's the next generation, of shooters. I'm almost 56 years old now, and I'm still having fun. Shooting, and matter of fact, I'm packing up and leaving to shoot another discipline. I'm leaving tomorrow to go up to Ohio to shoot a PRS match. So I'm shooting long range rifle now, And that's gotten to be a lot of fun. So it's just another discipline for me to play around in. But it kind of helps me be able to help my sponsors and the industry to see what trends are going. So if something is needed or lacking in one area that we may need to, to invest in for a product or something, I can relay that information back to my, back to manufacturers and go like, hey, we're missing something here. And so there's just another discipline for me, and that's the kind of cool side about it. I love the manufacturing side, and I love to be able to, on the marketing side. And, of course, shooting is is the fun side to me. I mean, I still enjoy it.
Absolutely. Todd Jarrett's our guest. He's one of the top shooters in the country, multi-time national champion, world champion, everything else. He shoots 3-gun. He shoots 27 different disciplines. He's going to go shoot PRS next weekend. Go to the SHOT Show, which is the, it's the Disneyland for guns out there in Las Vegas and all the manufacturers there. It's hard to get in unless you're actually part of the business, but Todd's going to be there doing their thing. But I would like for you, we have to take a hard break here, but one of your 1 or 2 top tips for people that are wanting to get into competitive shooting, Todd Jarrett, how do they do that?
Well, I tell everybody, take a class from one of the top guys. So wherever area you live in, get in touch with somebody that you are interested in or you see their style that kind of works your way. You can spend thousands of dollars in wasted money and equipment, and you end up taking a class from a top guy who knows the business, knows what equipment to buy, can save you thousands and thousands of dollars. So whatever discipline it is, whether it be in sporting clays, whether it be in PRS, whether it be in 3-gun or USPSA, take a class or 2 from these top guys before you spend $3,000-$4,000 in the wasted equipment and then you can go out there and spend the rest of that money in bullets and targets and spending the time on the range that you need to get yourself better and become a pro somewhere along the way.
I like it. Todd Jarrett, thank you so much. Our runner-up, close battle. I mean, these guys were tight. He and Josh Taylor for the Pro-Am 3-Gun Championships. They battled it out. They were on the same squad. I love that stuff. Todd, you're one of our favorites. Your lovely wife was there, too. She's amazing. So thank you for coming on the show, and we hope to get you back on soon, my friend.
You got it. Nick, you take care. You guys have a good one. Tell that no-count brother of yours to go out and do some practice.
Yeah, no doubt, huh? All right, man. You're listening to the Rock. All right, see you, Todd. You're listening to the Rockcastle Gun Show on ESPN Radio, and we'll be right back after these messages.
In stores now, Pabst Grippo's Beef Jerky. We have taken the great Pabst Beef Jerky and married it with the iconic Grippo's Barbecue Seasoning. This is a marriage made in beef jerky heaven. The thin cut of Pabst Beef Jerky is dusted to perfection with Grippo's seasoning. Once you try it, you will know no other beef jerky compares. So the next time you're headed on a road trip to the lake or your favorite golf course, be sure to have Pabst Beef Jerky fueling your outdoor lifestyle. PabstJerky.com. Ask for us at your local store.
They're going to jump out of trees. You can't stop them. They'll go down the slide head first. They'll make parachutes out of sheets. They'll balance on things that are impossible to balance on, like the back of a couch or a windowsill or a scooter seat. They'll run with sharp objects. They'll run into walls. They'll climb things that won't hold their weight. They'll put their fingers in places where they could get smashed. They'll drive their tricycles down steep hills. They'll bounce balls off their faces. They'll step on each other. They'll jump on each other. They'll invent whole new ways to put themselves in jeopardy. But one of the most dangerous things kids will do happens while they're sitting perfectly still. Kids who ride in a car without a booster seat are much more likely to suffer serious or fatal injury during a crash than kids in boosters. But amazingly, 80% of all kids who need them aren't in them. After a toddler seat and until they're 4'9", booster kids, and don't let them down.
Go to boosterseat.gov to learn more about the importance of boosters. A message from the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Ad Council.
This is Nate from Rockcastle Shooting Center. Did you know that one of the premier shooting ranges in the world is right here in South Central Kentucky? Rockcastle Shooting Center has something for everyone's recreational shooting enjoyment. From 3D archery to our brand new sporting clays course, handgun ranges full of steel to targets out to a mile. There's no better place to get some trigger time than Rockcastle Shooting Center. Non-members are welcome, and memberships start at $150 per year. We offer a fantastic range of firearms training and education opportunities from the most basic to the most advanced. Come see us, exit 48 on I-65, Park City, Kentucky. Visit rockcastleshootingcenter.com.
Welcome back to the Rockcastle Gun Show. It's your host, Nick Noble. And Nate Noble has just walked into the studio. And you're on ESPN Radio 102.7, and you're listening to the only gun show on ESPN Radio, and it's lots of fun. We've had a great thing. We've been talking about 3-gun the entire time. Rockcastle Pro 3-Gun Championships just wrapped up the largest 3-gun competition in the world. We had our winner, Josh Taylor, on. He was Josh is such a cool guy because he's just not one of those flashy guys. He just comes in there. He's from Alabama. He's real low key, and he just kicks everybody's butt. Then we had Todd Jarrett, who's one of the most accomplished shooters in the country, and he was killing it. And he came in second. We had both those guys on talking about the dynamics of Rockcastle Shooting Center Pro-Am 3-Gun Championship. So that was fun. Now we're going to switch gears. We've been talking 3-gun. Now we're going to talk 2-gun. And we're hosting for the 5th year in a row the Night Stalkers Association 2-Gun Challenge. And the Night Stalkers Association 2-Gun Challenge, the Night Stalkers Association is based out of Fort Campbell, and it basically is the 160th Air Regiment, Special Air Regiment, that is for all the soldiers. And these men and women are the people that fly our Navy SEALs, our Green Berets, any movie you've ever seen with aircraft in it picking up or dropping off soldiers. Are the folks. They're the Night Stalkers. They're incredible. And we're going to host another 2-Gun Challenge for the Association, Night Stalker Association, coming up this weekend. And our guest is Derek Poor, a great friend of ours. We got to go down and spend some time when he retired from the 160th not too long ago, and now he's not wearing a uniform, wearing a tie, and he is one of the guys that's on that really kind of brought this match together, and they've raised collectively a lot of money for the association. So Derek Poor, welcome to ESPN Radio and the Rockcastle Gun Show.
Nick, I appreciate it. Nick, Nate, how y'all both doing?
We're good, bro. How you doing?
Good. I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in a couple days.
Yeah, well, the Spikes Tactical guys are a big sponsor of the match. I think they were checking in tonight. I mean, Rex coming in from Fort Bragg. You're going to be coming in. I mean, we got a big weekend planned. Tell us a little bit about the Night Stalkers 2-Gun Challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be a great weekend. So the Night Stalker Association 2-Gun Challenge, as you said, this is going to be the 5th year. Rockcastle has been tremendous in the past, and I know will be tremendous moving forward with continuing to host and be the site for our event. You guys are so hospitable between you, the staff, everyone. It's an amazing facility and environment to do and to host an event like this. But the event itself kind of came up about 5 or 6 years ago, actually about 6. It took a year for it to go from the discussion phase to actual event. But we talked about all the other events that are done through the Night Stalker Association to benefit the family members in need, spouses and children of our fallen comrades, and what else could we do to kind of add a little bit more fun and flair to the current list or lineup of events. So between a golf tournament, bass tournament, motorcycle ride, and everything else, we were sitting around, and I think I've said it before, but I'll say it again. A couple guys sitting on the couch drinking a few beers and came up with this idea for doing a shooting competition. And so went through the process, talked to people who had experience doing it, and a lot of people pointed me toward Rockcastle as the venue. Came up, of course, met with you guys. We did a couple trips out to Vegas to go talk to some folks and all of our friends at SHOT Show, and really turned it into something quite great. We've got a full list of shooters this year. It's a packed roster, so
sold out.
I think it's sold out, and it's sold out very quick, right? Which is phenomenal. In the past, we've had a number of soldiers that signed up right away, and then things can happen in a month or 2 months, and we had to refund some people that had paid for a spot. This year, everybody paid, everybody got in. We actually had to close registration early because we had so many people signing up, and so, which is a great problem to have. Great problem to have.
So let me ask you a question, Derek. Is the people that are signing up, are they from Campbell and the 160th family, or are they other people at Campbell that are outside of that, Green Berets, 101st Airborne, are they professional 3-gunners? I mean, what's the demographic of the people that sold out the match?
It's probably a little bit of everything. I haven't looked at the full list this year, but I do know we've got some folks from 5th Group. We've got some folks from 160. So traditionally, we open registration about 2 months in advance, but we open it only to our Night Stalker Association members and to the folks in the regiment, primarily the soldiers, but also we do reach out to the civilians. We have a huge pool of civilian, a lot of retired personnel that work within the organization, right? So we open it up to them 30 days in advance. At that 30-day mark, we open it up to the public, and we allow those remaining slots to be filled. In the past, we've had a lot of guys from 5th Group come up. We've had some guys from the 101st come up. We've had some locals that are just, friends and family to Rockcastle that have showed up. And so it's always been great. It's a mix of, the quasi-professional, the true amateur, the military, your special ops, conventional. It's everything under the sun, which is exactly what we want, because not only does it build, camaraderie and morale and everything else amongst the military service members, but it opens that door up and it creates a pathway into a new sport for people who are very unfamiliar with it. And so that's a huge goal with really trying to continue doing this each year, and of course hosting it there with you guys at the Rock. Just a phenomenal 2A environment and community.
Yeah, so, and we've been talking about 3-gun the whole show, so now we're talking about 2-gun. So I want you to expand a little bit about what 2-gun means versus 3-gun, because a lot of people haven't been into multi-gun, and we're throwing out one of the guns here. And tell us a little bit about kind of the way it's going to be set up, the stages, and everything else.
Okay, so yeah, not to offend anybody that's a diehard shotgunner, but the one thing that most of us in the Army and in our unit specifically do not do is carry a shotgun. So when you come into the unit, everybody's trained on a rifle and pistol, and so that's why we reduced it to, or limited the event to being a 2-gun event only. And it's a nice mixture of rifle and pistol on each stage. Each stage in the past has been developed with some input from our folks either there at the Rock that have assisted with the Pro-Am, or, Night Stalker members and friends, again, of the community have assisted me, be it Brian Ray. Brian Ray has been huge each year in assisting. This year, as you mentioned, we have a gentleman named Rex. Rex is a good friend of mine, coworker. He lives out of state, but we are getting things accomplished by way of email, teleconference, and text. But the stages themselves have traditionally been built with some sort of physical components or a piece of units or military history tied to it. Some of the stages were, in the stage brief, they honored a fallen Night Stalker, or they brought attention to a specific event in the unit's history. And some of those are really touching as well, because, aside from just the emotion that's associated with, our fallen, I remember the first year we had a stage brief that discussed an event in the 80s, and one of our competitors, he turned to his daughter, who was in her 20s, and said, sweetie, I was a part of that operation. You have no idea. And so it's just really interesting to be able to share information, kind of peel the onion back a little bit, share a little bit of information with our friends and family that traditionally we have not, but also be able to honor our service members, honor the unit, honor the fallen, and really try to build something that's it's physical, it's fun, but it's memorable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think spend a little bit of time, because there are so many. And I brought up movies because it's only people, lay people like myself, civilians that were never in the military. We're familiar with different Lone Survivor and Black Hawk Down and
right.
All these different things. And the 160th was actually they were the taxi, the Night Stalkers. They went in at night, they dropped them off, they picked them up, and everything else. And just talk about the 160th just a little bit and the tradition. Sure. And you guys are the most. Well, if you didn't have the 160th, there would be no SF on ground.
Right. So, I mean, unless they were walking there. And I know a lot of those guys like to become pilots now because they're tired of walking.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so the 160th, just as you said, was really formed out of the need for a special operations aviation unit. There were plenty of ground forces between the different branches, and there was a need seen that, hey, how do we bring together all these moving parts and pieces and get them from point A to point B all the way down to point Z in a safe and efficient manner, and doing it at night, doing it over water, doing it in, poor weather, you name the circumstances. And then the 160th has been the unit that has really pioneered a huge amount of the new advances in Army aviation over the past 30 years. So really, as you said, pioneered night vision flying. That was something that was never done beforehand. And the guys that did that, even some of the ground forces, I'm sure now, could attribute the things that were learned by our aviators in the past to the new products that they have on hand now. But we do. We fly a variety of different people to a variety of different places, and we are most known or easily recognized for it's been termed the Black Hawk Down, the incident. Operation Gothic Serpent was the name of the operation, but in the movie and the book, Black Hawk Down, that is the one event, the most significant event that our unit has been identified and recognized for.
Right.
Yep, absolutely.
Very cool.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
No, keep going.
Dating, all the way back then to right now. I mean, I know we have members of our unit deployed worldwide in a theater of operations somewhere. And if they're not actually, downrange conducting, combat missions, then they are training. They're training somewhere, sometime, somewhen, right? And that's just the nature of our business and what we do.
Yeah, that's really cool. So all that you just talked about is going to culminate this weekend for the Night Stalkers, which is the Night Stalkers. Tell us a little bit about your nickname, your moniker, the Night Stalkers. I mean, that's been associated with the 160th, and you guys do all your business by night, right?
Right. Traditionally, we do everything by night. There are instances where, we may have to go out and do things during the day. We may go out at night and, oops, the sun's popping up. But we traditionally operate, just as you said, at night. So very much where the moniker came from. We are going out to find some bad guys doing some bad stuff, and we want to creep up on them and sneak up on them when they are the most vulnerable, and when we have a leg up on the competition, so to speak, right? When we can be the most lethal. And going back to when we started using those night vision goggles to fly, that was the key. So if you can't see in the dark and I can, that's a huge advantage that I have.
Yeah.
So the bulk of our training, 75% of the training that I ever did was done at night. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
Can't wait for the weekend and the match, man. It's going to be fun. Can't wait to have the Night Stalkers back at Rockcastle Shooting Center for another Night Stalkers Association 2-gun match. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm super stoked. And I know you mentioned the guys from Spikes Tactical rolled in. We got a lot of great sponsors this year. Again, we always have great sponsors, but we've got, Vertex, Night Force, Shotgun Rider Company. That's very interesting. Some of those guys have worked with some Night Stalkers in the past, but, a smaller company makes T-shirts and some swag.
Yeah.
They connected with us.
That's huge, Derek. We're up against a hard break. Everybody, come to Rockcastle Shooting Center this weekend, free of charge. Come watch the Night Stalkers Association 2-gun challenge, and come up there and check out some of these American heroes up there battling with 2 guns just for fun, and we'll be raising a lot of money for the Night Stalkers Association. Thank you very much, Derek.
Hey, thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing you in a couple days.
All right, my friend. You're listening to the Rockcastle Gun Show on ESPN Radio. We'll be back next week Wednesday night from 6 to 7 p.m. East Central Standard Time. You're listening to ESPN Radio 102.7.